this act is going to be part of our history forever, but the legacy is up to us, right? We can't change the terrible event that happened, but we can change what happens afterwards. I would change what the Prime Minister said, this is not New Zealand. I would change it to be, this should not be New Zealand, and this should not be us. Because whether we like it or not, I think there are people in our communities, and even some of our politicians, and certainly in our media, that have put out intolerance, helped inflame racism, especially against the Muslim community for the last 20 years. It's when that occurs, when that intolerance, hatred and ignorance occurs, it allows, like the idiot that committed this event, to feel that their ideas have some cohesion in our society when they don't have it anywhere in our society. There was an Australian journalist, whose name eludes me right now, who put it very well. He said he wasn't surprised about the attacks. He was saddened, but he wasn't surprised. A Muslim journalist in Australia. And he said it very well, but he wasn't surprised because this hate had been propagated not just in New Zealand, but on the, in the international media. We've obviously got people like Trump, who, while he senses sympathy, on the other hand, propagates hate and intolerance. So I think we've got many issues to deal with, and we really want to hear from everyone here that wants to speak and contribute.
To be wondering how to react to this is made worse if you have no political framework. The skill of political thinking has been largely destroyed in New Zealand because our communities have been dismantled in terms of independent political tradition. I think that leaves everyone vulnerable to simply being a victim and having no understanding or framework to respond. Getting down to a mosque on Friday is a fantastic practical show of support. The long-term program has to be education and rebuilding political thought in our working class communities so that when something terrible like this happens, we're not simply sponges for the bourgeois nonsense that comes out in the media or the political line from the government.
This isn't like after the earthquakes, this isn't like a natural disaster, this is something that has been done by somebody, this is something that has been stoked by racist extremism, by fascist politics, by right-wing media narratives that are discriminatory, that breed hate, and we need to grapple with that, and I think we're going to need to grapple with that if we're going to be able to process our feelings, process how badly I think a lot of people have been harmed by this. It's not going to be enough. I think it's important that we do these vigils, we do this important stuff, but there's got to be some proactive work in our communities to confront racism, to confront fascism.
We lived in the Middle East, had a wonderful time in the Middle East, and experienced great hospitality in the Middle East. And since returning to New Zealand in 2008, we were shocked really at the way people thought of the Middle East, the way it was presented in the media. I'm a journalist, but I don't work in the right-wing media. Obviously the media's got to change. One of the things I did was I immediately got on to Leanne when she said there were no white supremacists in New Zealand, in Christchurch while she was in term, and I tackled her personally on that, and she did respond to me and she stopped saying it. And I think this is one of the examples. We have got to bombard them, and we're entitled to our anger. It is okay to be angry about racism. Since I've been here, the number of times I've been told, were you too angry about it? We're allowed to be angry about it. We are. Perhaps we weren't angry enough. So we've got to be cohesive, we've got to have our groups, we've got to work together, not undermine each other. And we've got to be active, and we've got to be angry. These people have got to know they do not belong here. White supremacists do not belong in Aotearoa, in New Zealand, anywhere in this world. They are not welcome. It is not okay to think like that. Teach your children anti-racism right from the start.
Kia ora tātou. What I personally would really like to know right now, and I'd like out of this, is to know what channels do we have for reporting on supremacist and hate crime type activity that we see in our communities. I'm not sure how many people here have had to contact the police about things that have happened, but when you call the police, you call like a national call line, and people are different of training in that, and it's not always you don't always know where it's going or how things are going to be treated. There's the police, there's Crime Stoppers, which can do enormously, but I think we really need, due to, basically this has been going on for a really long time, and we all kind of grown up here and, have seen people around and kind of go, oh, it's weird or it's gross, you kind of avoid it, we walk away, it's scary, but we need a way to actually be able to monitor and report on things going on in our communities, and we need clear channels, and we need to know that whoever's at the end of those channels is actually listening and reporting also to us on what's happening with that. So that's what I want out of this. Thanks.
I just wanted to say a few words about the online hate community which spawns the ideology behind the attack on Friday. In the dark corners of the internet, there are people who gather together to discuss white nationalism, but it's very easy for people to get sucked into that through adjacent themes and topics. There are people who have YouTube channels that talk about anti-feminist ideas. There are people who have YouTube channels who talk about anti-left-wing ideas, and then YouTube will recommend videos to people who watch those videos that will lead to people talking about white nationalist ideologies. And it can be profitable too to be a hate speaker with YouTube monetization and Patreon and other funding platforms. The most prominent of these hate speakers even go on speaking tours, people like Milo Yiannopoulos, Lauren Southern, and Stephen Molyneux were in New Zealand recently.
So PewDiePie, a few years ago, made a video where he, as sort of a dare, asked some people to put anti-Semitic and Holocaust-denying slogans and put them in front of a big highway. And right now, on Twitter, he's following such people as Paul Joseph Watson, who is a racist xenophobe, and Lauren Southern, who made a viral video called The Great Replacement, which was name-dropped in the manifesto of the shooter. Now, what I want to focus on is that when we're outraged by what PewDiePie does, the response is often to downplay it by his supporters. I remember this quote saying, he just follows those people as a meme, as a joke. And what that means is that when we come across as outraged and angry, what people who are aligned with PewDiePie and are aligned with these ideologies tend to say is, these people are just being hysterical, they can't get the joke. Don't just tag PewDiePie when you say, PewDiePie, this is unacceptable. Tag his advertisers, tag the people who are supporting his work. Because right now the situation is, they can say this stuff, we get angry, and they can play it off as part of their propaganda. But if we start making that a legislative option, start making that actual consequences, that will become successful, and people will not get as radicalized by these sort of online demagogues. That's what I have to say. Thank you very much.
Our government is made up almost entirely of people who didn't grow up with the internet. Our leaders, our parents, our teachers. I work in a primary school with children who are totally digitally fluent, and the way that they interact with media is just absolutely different to the way they would have been 20 years ago. It's reflected in our laws, the fact that probably Facebook and Instagram and those other social media platforms won't be really held accountable for the distribution of objectionable material. We really need to understand how this white supremacy, which has been around forever, is now interacting with bizarre things like gamer culture, with YouTube, with things that our children understand, but our leaders do not.
We've got loonies in our society, whether they're Nazi loonies or they're toxic males or they're whatever, or misogynists, or whether they're drug abusers, whether they hate their neighbour, whatever. If these people can lay their hands on automatic weapons or semi-automatic weapons, they can do some serious damage. So the first thing to do to manage the future future impact of this sort of behaviour is to strongly support, I urge you to channel your anger into the firearms reforms. Don't let the toxic males that run the gun culture throughout the world dominate in this discussion. Channel your anger.
I'm concerned about the co-opting of ideas of safety to arm our police further and to further arm institutions that are already racist. And at the end of the day, police with guns probably isn't going to affect me too much. Neither will, calls for the death penalty for this person who has, committed this awful act. But perhaps we need to think about, what we are kind of asking for, and just as a warning.
The media is not really indifferent. I saw an example on a website called Think Progress yesterday of a gentleman that you may have heard of by the name of Rush Limbaugh, having come out and saying that this attack was fake news, that it was a false flag in order to discredit American conservative movement. That's the kind of mentality we're up against. I think we should really remember that.
Kia ora tātou. Three things. If you do not already read the daily blog, you should be, because there is really good articles. Keith Stocks had a very good article this last week in this forum. Various people saying why this has actually happened and who's really to blame for this. And to me, two of the big names that come to mind are Mike Hosking and Sean Plunkett. This is filthy radio. It's appalling to listen to, and there is a move to try and find out who all the advertisers are on it, and to write to the advertisers and say we won't be buying your product so long as you support these radio hosts. They're frightening, especially Hosking. The other thing is that the Global Peace and Justice movement, they are planning to be at all the mosques in Auckland.
One thing I haven't heard once is addressing that Christchurch as a whole is racist, and we're known for that. Like, we have the reputation of that, and I think people need to admit that. And going from a bit of personal experience, I moved here when I was year 6, and from year 6 to year 13, I didn't have one friend who didn't make a racist remark about me.
White deflection and white defensiveness, because in a number of these conversations, white people generally often derail the conversation by trying to prove that they're the best ally, that they know lots of Muslim people, that they know lots of, say, Pasifika people when we're talking about stuff. But really what communities generally need you to do is to show how you're actually going to protect them and to show solidarity with them. They don't really want to know that in year 2 you had a friend that was Muslim. That's not really helpful to them in this particular circumstance. And also something to realise that when someone calls you out for something that you said that is Islamophobic or is problematic, that you shouldn't derail the conversation by getting angry at them, because often they have a good point, and that those are situations where people of colour or Muslim people or queer people can often feel that they're unsafe when they're even going to question something that you say, not to mention the response that they get when there's white deflection that takes place. So if everyone can just kind of take a moment with that question.
I'm a Pākehā New Zealander, spent most of my life in Christchurch. My parents were all born in New Zealand, my grandparents were all born in New Zealand. So I'm 100% Pākehā. And I just want to say to other Pākehā people that we need to remember that we are products of white supremacy. We grew up believing that Pākehā people are superior to Māori and to other ethnic groups. We grew up with an education system that was designed to favour us, our culture, our ways of being, and we thought we got ahead because we were bright. We grew up with a justice system that was designed to essentially look after us. We didn't notice that Māori were being imprisoned at a massive rate, or if we did, we thought that was because they were bad people. We have these institutions that are designed to favour us, and all the systems are designed to make them look like they're fair and neutral and equal. But I also want to say that we've made a lot of progress in things. If you think back to the sorts of commonly held beliefs and attitudes from 20 years ago, from 40 years ago, from 60 years ago, you would be horrified at some of the things that were taken for granted and assumed and believed. And I think when we look back on that, we need to see this as a constant process of learning how to live better, learning how to organise our system, our society and ourselves better, and remaining open and remaining critical. And making that change, doing it in terms of ourselves and confronting things at an individual level. The other thing I think that we need to be aware of is that as we have made this progress, we've got people who are trying to shut us down. We're talking about shutting down the neo-fascists. Political correctness was a term that was designed to shut down the sort of progressive progress that we've been making. Changes and improving society that gets branded as political correctness. Never use that term. Virtue signalling is the new one. Social justice warriors, snowflakes, they're all terms that have been designed by the people who are opposed to change, who are opposed to breaking down the inequality and exploitation and injustice in society, to try and stop us making that change. And we need to be aware of that, we need to be ever vigilant, and I'm really heartened at all the comments that have been here. It leaves me in good heart in terms of how we as a community can respond to this awful situation that we're facing.
I think we all have degrees of intolerance and prejudice, and we all need to work on that. I was at church on Sunday, and at that church, prayers were given for the people that had been killed and injured. On Friday, one of the speakers said, he felt so terribly sorry at what had happened, especially the Christians. And I'm worried about that, and I think we need to think about that in our everyday lives, because we're all prejudiced to some extent.
This week has been really emotional for me, in many senses, and Friday hit me completely. I'm not from this country, I'm from Spain. This is a country that has a long history of going around and just trying to press all the people to change their religion. All my childhood, I spent it being aware of terrorism inside my country, between people of my country. We were scared of driving to the north of Spain because the terrorists could just simply put a bomb under our car because we were from the center city. We were attacked some years ago, and we have been attacked last year again by radicalist Muslims. And now, here, they have been attacked. And I wonder myself, what is the problem? And I think the problem is really all the differences that we make. What is my difference? I've been attacked so many times for being a foreigner here, or for my accent, or in my own country from people from other regions, or you're from the central city, so we're not going to speak to you. What's wrong? Is there any difference between me and her? There's no difference. I don't have a mouth, I don't have some legs, I don't have a heart. If someone shoots me, I have the same risk of dying. If someone kills someone of my family, I have the same pain. What is the difference? I think that's the big problem. What I realized many times. There's two things that were said here before, and I think it's important to bring focus. Many of the things that everyone said here were so important, but we shouldn't lose focus. And I learned that teaching in this country, and I try to teach my students, don't lose focus. They say over there, we should be curious. I try to be curious and know what a person from a Muslim country will practice or will not practice. I may be just curious about them. Why someone that doesn't want to talk to me doesn't want to talk to me. And that's how I learned how to create a discourse or some engaging conversation to change their mind. And it's what our friend, sociologist, was explaining before. We should not stand and just accept whatever comes to us. We should not reject it. Not even say, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. We should engage with it. We should say, I'm angry with you about this. Because we need to change it. And give reasons why you don't want to be friends anymore. You need to bring awareness. And that's how I really believe this world can change. We are changing problems about women in society. We can change problems about terrorism, but we need to stand up, we need to engage, we need to raise awareness about this and act accordingly and don't let it fade away. For God's sake, don't let it fade away. Because it fades away every day, we go back to our lives. We shouldn't do that. Please compromise with yourself, compromise with the fact that we are human beings and that we are just all the same. We are simply all the same, and we should simply stand up to protect our race, all of us.
I'm still shaken and taken aback that a tragedy of this scale happened in Ototahi, this quiet city that has been my home for the last 4 years. The terrorists describe immigrants as scum and invaders in their white homeland. Aotearoa, New Zealand is white homeland. It is so important to teach children in Western schools the history of colonization and how it continues to impact the world today. When I talk to my New Zealand friends, they say the school lessons present a sanitized version of New Zealand history. This is not sufficient to help in understanding the huge power imbalance between Maori and Pākehā, owing to dispossession of land, language, way of life, and displacement, which is both physical and cultural. Not to mention the fact that the Chinese communities arrived in New Zealand around the same time as Europeans and Indians in the late 19th century. Muslims have been part of our community for over a century and currently are 1% of the population. Now furthermore, vilification and dehumanization of non-whites is neither an isolated nor a rare phenomenon. It has been a running theme of colonial discourse since the beginning of European colonial exploration. It justified enslaving and exploiting savages. It continues to justify disproportionate incarceration of African Americans and Hispanics in the USA, Maori and Pacifica in New Zealand, etc. It makes arbitrary wars and interventions against black and brown people seem obscure and ignorable in far-off lands. It dehumanizes refugees as swarms and infestations, just referring to UK media in the wake of Brexit. Last Friday's terrorist attack emerges from this normal ecosystem. It is not, abnormal. It is emerging from this normal ecosystem, which, among other things, has roots in colonial history. And we should be calling it out. And one of the actionable things that I can suggest at the moment is to throw our support behind a group of New Zealand teachers, the
is a winner's document. Okay? So whose history are we going to teach? I arrived in New Zealand from Ireland. I learned history in Ireland. The history they taught me for school, cert history, had nothing to do with the reality of the Irish question. So I'm very, very sensitive to this one, that I share much with my Māori friends and relatives, that whose history are we going to teach and how is it mediated to get a balanced view for our students? Because as an Irish citizen, living in New Zealand, I too, quite highly educated, I too am discriminated against and have been. But perhaps because I've been here more than half a lifetime, I know how to cope with it. But I'm really very keen that we get this history one right, because millions of dollars goes into curriculum, and if we teach the wrong thing, we're just perpetuating the problem.
In Christchurch and in every school in every city and town in New Zealand, there is an anti-bullying program that has been very successful. It has the structures in place. It's part of the school curriculum. It's written into their mission statements. And I feel that this is an opportunity for us to use that model to build an anti-racism program that, as a response to this, is rolled out first in Christchurch and is then rolled out in other cities of New Zealand. The most important thing about this is that children learn from their parents and their peers, and if the child on the bus next to them is experiencing subtle racism and no one speaks up, it will happen again and again and again. And so our young people are looking for what their response is in this situation. They're wanting to know what is the right way for them to behave, to feel. And so if we use this model, then we're not looking at hundreds of millions of dollars, we're looking at a program that will fit right in with this.
We are building an online digital observatory on hate speech and radicalization. So if you want to contribute, it is taking shape now. We have the aim of countering online activities that spread toxic narratives. The code name is Project Love, Lowering Online Violence and Extremism.
Well, first of all, I wanted to support very much, very strongly, the idea of the teaching of history that will help us with critical thinking. But history, not like I've heard some people say, oh yes, we did history last year and it was all about Hitler. Have some sort of long-term view, start and see how things develop, so that it helps us with thinking, understanding what happened and understanding what happens today. Then I wanted to say, I heard earlier on, one idea that was floated was, should we all be wearing a hijab as a show of support? And that reminded me, I come from Italy, and my grandmother wore a headscarf a lot of the time, and I did too when it was cold and windy. I always had a headscarf on and a shawl, and sometimes I still wear it, you know. And just the thought of people being scared of wearing something that they want to wear, the thought of people feeling that they might be targeted because of what they look like. It's just unbearable. It's unbearable. It reminds me also what happened of the terrorism that was happening all around us when I was growing up in Italy. And I have to say, at least we never felt we were being targeted because of what we looked like.
We also need to look at ourselves and our communities and our families and our friends and our neighbours and make sure that we stop racism where it starts. We stop it in the small little comments. We stop it when people are just making offhand remarks about how, like my uncle said to me the other day during the shooting when I was bringing up the fact that yes, people of colour in New Zealand are still more persecuted
and those of us who are not a person of colour, he said to me that it's because they commit more crimes. That sort of attitude is not something that will help our country get rid of racism, get rid of sexism and homophobia and hatred. We need to move forward by calling out those around us, even when it makes us uncomfortable, even when it makes us skin crawl because there's some people we love but they're saying things so hateful. We need to stop them where it starts, before it starts, so that we don't have another terrorist in our streets, so that we don't have another killing of a minority who should be treated with respect, who should be allowed to congregate and pray in their place of prayer, in their second home.
My name's Chris. I'm an Anglican by accident. If I'd been born in another country, in another place, I'd be something else. I've just walked freely from the Tuesday Club, which is held in Smash Palace, where we had an hour's talk from one of the refugees of the Tampa, a young man by the name of Abbas, who was 6 when he arrived. He's now in his mid-20s and he works for the Treasury. And he spoke very eloquently about his experiences and is grateful for being in New Zealand and didn't want to touch on the fact that there's always been this sense, this feeling always that they were made to still feel not exactly welcome here. Another young man who was in Ethiopia pulled a few more punches. He said, I'm black. And we live with it every day. He said, we appreciate where we are, but we do have to live with it. And then the most chilling thing that happened was that it was almost entirely a white Pākehā audience, very friendly, free, open people listening. And I listened to their comments, and they were the ones that evoked the ideas about how we have to call out this racism from amongst starting at home with our own families. One young man is a teacher from one of the schools near the mosque, and on Monday morning he had to walk with 2 young women who were too terrified. They would not wear their hijabs in fear, and they were walking down the street. This is Monday morning, and a car went by with a Pākehā man, and he leant out the window and he did that. So then they said, what can we do? And someone suggested during the war in Norway, when the Jews were called out and told to sew on a star, and in this street where this man's family were, everybody sewed a star on their jacket, including the children. A woman got up and said, can we wear a scarf? Maybe in a year's time or 6 months' time, we should all wear a hijab, or maybe we should just wear a scarf. These are just ideas that they throw. But the chilling facts came from the realisation of us as New Zealanders in the audience.
I just wanted to say something to keep in mind as we move forward in our discussions in our organisation, which is, again, not quite in line with what Jacinda was saying. And that this was not an attack on Christchurch. This was not an attack on our community as a whole. This was a specific attack on people of Islamic faith, of the Muslim whānau in our community. And I think it's really important as we're moving forward, the message that we're sending is not saying we support them because we were also under attack, because we weren't. Pākehā people, you were all safe. Racialised people may not be safe within the ideology, but in this attack, the only people in danger were Muslim people. So I think it's incredibly important that we acknowledge that and say that we are not Muslim, but we support you and we celebrate your differences, and we celebrate you because of your differences, not because we've some homogenised Aotearoa, right? Because that's not authentic. If you are in a position to teach young white men not to be racist, not to hold this victimization that leads to violence, and that is an incredibly important thing to do. Kia ora.
My name is Iman. Last week, my husband forgot to go for Jummah, which is unfortunately a good thing. I've been to 3 different countries. I've lived in one where I was a minority. I've lived in a second where I was a minority. And I'm now in one where I am a minority. So one thing is, educating people theoretically is not enough. You can teach them in schools, but what changes, people in this room, I'm sure, are people who've made time to actually know people who are different from them. But the people who call themselves extremists on either side of the coin, that is, even Muslim extremists or white supremacists, whatever they are, they do not know anyone other than their own group of people. And that's what you need to stop doing. And I think for that, every community needs to open its doors. And when you're a majority, it's easier to forget to learn about a minority. Because when you're a minority, the majority's cultural beliefs, ways of living, it inundates your everyday that you just absorb it. I know more about England than I know about Sri Lanka, which is where I'm originally from. You know? So what I would say is, don't just learn about it in your books. Learn about it in your everyday. Learn about Ramadan. Learn about what Jummah, Friday prayers are. Come into our mosques. Be part of us. So that no matter what is spewed on the internet, no matter what people tell you, if you really know what it's like to be with someone, no one can change your opinion because you know firsthand, and that really works. Because coming from Sri Lanka as well, I've suffered. My family was in a city where there was a mob that was throwing stones and they were being attacked last year. And there were people who were their neighbors who've known them all their lives, and when it comes down to that moment, no matter all the propaganda that's spread, when you know someone who's a person, all these tags, you can't brainwash them. Because you know a person for who they are, no matter what lies you try to spread, it just doesn't win. So I think everyone here has a responsibility to go out and do that. Thanks.
Whatever the community feel that they want to do, I think we should be engaging with the Muslim community to know what they want to do. I'm pretty sick and tired of hearing numbers like 50 and 36 and 3 and 4. And, I think it's really hit home when you see the faces of young people, old people, middle-aged people. These are people within our community. And I think whatever we do, we have to remember that these are people, they're not numbers, they're not so the gesture, whatever we do, whatever we can do tangibly, I certainly support what you were saying, Tom, about ferreting out intolerance and exposing it and doing something about it.
It's important in this conversation that we remember to keep central the Muslim voices, the minority voices, the voices of people of colour in this dialogue.
I'm an organiser for a trade union, and I'd just like to point out and reinforce the importance of trade unions in these kinds of situations. Trade unions are still the largest membership organisations in the country, and trade unions are important not just in the sense of those people who are able to assist or help to bring people out with demonstrations or anything like that when we're talking about upcoming anti-racist activity, but it's also very important to take into account that workplaces are where a lot of people spend a third of their lives, and a lot of people who were victims of terrorist attacks on Friday will have associations and be workers at workplaces where unions are present. So I'd just like to reinforce the importance of engaging at work and building support networks around the Muslim community in our workplaces, and don't underestimate the possibility of other workers joining in if you take initiatives on your sites. I think we should be
arguing in this case because of the nature of the fascist movement in New Zealand, it is not a big mass movement. It is hard to identify, so I think we shouldn't rule out some slogans about pressurising the state to do its job and target some of these groups specifically. Thank you.
Talofa ko ana tōku ingoa. The first thing I wanted to do, kind of the flip side of the defunding the advertisers and like costing stuff, is to make sure that as you go forward, perhaps if there's a green grocery that you want to go to, try and make sure that you're supporting Muslim businesses, because as Jacinta said the other day, a lot of the breadwinners were harmed or killed in the mosque shootings. So a way that we can support the Muslim community as a whole is trying to buy Muslim.
These words that people have said are very good and should be considered, but as a passionate Christian who worships at this cathedral, I suggest we look at the golden rule. Does everybody know what the golden rule is? I taught it in school and the kids just loved it. Do unto others as you would have them do it unto you. It's very simple.
In the aftermath of what happened, I linked up with a few friends and family here, and we created a Facebook page called No Hate New Zealand. The point of this wasn't for us to centralise any sort of activity, but more to be a rallying call, for there to be some sort of national demonstration which highlights the political aspect of this. Already we've had many messages from lots of people with different opinions. Some ask us to remove hate from the name because they'd rather have a positive vibe. We've seen a lot of events coming up which have their place and are important, but it seems like Middle New Zealand would like to have a feel-good response to this sort of attack. This is important, but this isn't the only response that we need to have.
Kia ora, my name is Lucia Campanella, and this is my husband. He's the minister of the Tonga Methodist Church here in Christchurch. We live in Auckland, but we moved here in 2015 to serve the Lord. So we are here to support the people here, and we so sad.
1970s, I was a folk singer. I sang a song called Birmingham Sunday. Some of you will remember it. About a church in a black area of America, and was bombed by white supremacists, and 4 young girls lost their lives. And we've been talking about equality and friendliness for 30 odd years. And now I think it is actually the time to do something. Because the gun lobby is very strong, but now we have a Prime Minister and a wave of emotion going through the country, which is likely to carry something. And we had some good thoughts here tonight. So now is the time to do something and carry out some of these ideas that we have heard tonight. Not wait for another 30 years. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name's Stuart. I've spent probably the last 18 years overseas and predominantly in the Middle East. On Friday I was torn because of the event that had taken place. Shell-shocked because it happened in my country and in my city. But I'm also reminded too that in 2012, I was at the other side of the same coin. Now, all the ideas that I've heard so far that have been expressed are wonderful ideas, and those are conversations that need to be expanded on. But I'm mindful too that we need to show, like we did during the Springbok tours and the Māori walks, as a country, that we don't condone a left extreme, a right extreme. That the majority of us in this city and in this country are, yes, sometimes part of that line of thinking, but we're down the narrow road of that too. We sit in the centre and we want to have a harmonised life. And it strikes me that what we need to think about now, that New Zealand does realise actually we're not that small country in the bottom of the planet, that we are part of this bigger world, that we are part of all of the world's community, that our identity and what that means to us is the first thing that I ask myself. We are a blended community. My wife is an immigrant to this country. So I'm a bit estranged too to hear that we're all now talking about racism as if it only happened on Tuesday. No, it is part of New Zealand culture, as the young lady spoke about colonialism. And that's a fact of New Zealand. But for me, the immediate question is to answer is how do we show our support to our Muslim whānau here and to the rest of the world? Because we're not going to change Trump and we're not going to change other things, but united, as we've proven in the past, then we can. And then that starts to ruminate about what we need to sort out in our own society. But a show of unified solidarity is one thing that I would hope that the whole of New Zealand, led by Christchurch, in support of our Muslim brothers and sisters, is what we achieve in the very short term. Thank you.